Chapter 82 Clash. The one-eyed giant could sense the centaur-like creature's hostile gaze, and it also directed its attention away as a cold gleam flashed through its eye as it crouched down slightly to lower its center of gravity in preparation for battle. Electricity flashed within the eyes of one of the centaur creature's heads, and lightning patterns lit up all over its azure scales. Arcs of blue lightning sprang forth, encircling its entire body, then formed a lightning halberd that was almost as long as the centaur-like creature was tall. The halberd had arcs of lightning flashing around it, and it was clearly also formed by lightning itself. However, it was far more substantial than the lightning spears from before, and there were many strange patterns on its surface, giving it the appearance of an actual treasure with formidable powers. The centaur-like creature raised its lightning halberd, then pushed off the ground forcefully with its two hind hooves, launching itself directly toward the one-eyed giant at an incredible speed. As it charged forward, it swept its lightning halberd through the air, and a tightly packed series of halberd projections instantly appeared before hurtling toward the one-eyed giant. The giant let loose a low roar as it raised one of its feet, then stomped it heavily down onto the ground. The earth instantly trembled violently as large plumes of dust rose up alongside countless grains of translucent yellow sand, forming a tornado of yellow sand that surged up into the giant's grasp, then formed a giant staff that was close to 1,000 feet in length. The giant grabbed onto the staff with both hands, and the staff immediately began to radiate bright yellow light before being swept directly toward the oncoming lightning halberd projections. A mountainous expanse of staff projections was instantly unleashed, obscuring a large section of the sky as they sped toward the lightning halberd projections. A string of loud explosions rang out as the lightning halberd projections were destroyed by the staff projections, exploding into bursts of dazzling blue lightning that gradually faded into nothingness. Right at this moment, an opening suddenly appeared amid the dense mass of staff projections, and a blue lightning halberd flew through the opening, aimed directly at the giant's throat. The one-eyed giant seemed to have already anticipated this, and it withdrew its staff, upon which all of the staff projections in the air also returned to the staff. It then swept its staff through the air to knock the lightning halberd away, but the halberd merely circled around in the air before flying toward the one-eyed giant again. The centaur-like creature was constantly making circular motions with its arms, and the lightning halberd danced in front of it like a roaming dragon at its behest, releasing countless blue halberd projections that swept toward the one-eyed giant. Countless tiny arcs of lightning were flashing incessantly amid the vast expanse of halberd projections, and even the air seemed to have been set alight as the acrid scent of something burning wafted through the area. As for the one-eyed giant, it was wielding the staff as if it were an extension of its own body, unleashing a series of staff projections that resembled a massive yellow bird that was spreading its wings and taking flight, soaring directly toward the blue halberd projections. A string of loud cracks and pops rang out incessantly as the yellow light and blue lightning intertwined, and neither side was able to overcome the other. Resounding booms rang out occasionally, and each one was accompanied by the crumbling of a burst of yellow light or the explosion of a burst of blue lightning. Powerful shock waves spread through the air in all directions, causing the surrounding space to warp and quiver violently. As the battle raged on, the surface of the massive bubble that encompassed this entire area was also rippling violently, like the surface of a disturbed lake, looking as if it could be destroyed at any moment. Under the concealment of the high zenith invisibility talisman, Han Li had already backed away to around 4,000 to 5,000 feet away from the pair of titanic creatures, and he was watching the ongoing battle intently from afar. He had originally planned to sneak away while the two creatures were locked in battle, so that he could leave this mysterious bubble and resume his journey to the immortal realm. But the scene unfolding before his eyes was making him rather hesitant. After a moment of contemplation, he decided to stay and watch the battle for now. After an indeterminate period of time, the battle finally began to take a slight turn. It seemed that the one-eyed giant was gradually running out of stamina due to the injury that it had previously sustained, and it was beginning to struggle to keep up with its assailant. In contrast, the centaur-like creature's attacks were only becoming more and more ferocious as the battle wore on, and the blue halberd projections began to dominate the yellow staff projections. Amid the chaos, a burst of yellow light suddenly appeared on the one-eyed giant's feet. At the same time, it let loose an explosive roar, and the ground beneath its feet instantly began to quake violently. An enormous mass of translucent yellow sand swept up from the ground in a frenzy, forming a massive screen of sand that rose up several thousand feet into the air. In the face of the screen of sand, all of the halberd projections instantly crumbled away, and the halberd-wielding centaur-like creature was also caught off guard, finding itself separated from its opponent by the screen of sand. The one-eyed giant immediately turned and fled in the other direction upon seeing this. Immediately thereafter, dazzling yellow light erupted from the screen of sand, which took on an extremely substantial form. A hint of derision appeared on the centaur-like creature's three faces, and it turned its left-sided head slightly, so that its gaze was turned in the same direction that was directly forward of its central head. Azure and blue light then appeared in the two pairs of eyes on its left and central heads, and a burst of powerful fluctuations emerged from the spot where the lines of sight of the two pairs of eyes met. Arcs of blue lightning emerged out of thin air alongside countless azure blades of wind, and they quickly converged to form an azure and blue ball of lightning that was 70 to 80 feet in size. The two-colored ball of lightning flashed through the air before crashing into the yellow screen of sand. A massive bulge instantly appeared on the screen of sand, where it was struck by the ball of lightning, but it managed to keep the ball of lightning at bay. However, right at this moment, the ball of lightning began to glow with dazzling radiance before exploding violently. An earth-shattering boom rang out as countless arcs of blue lightning sprang through the air like a series of tiny lightning worms. Each arc of lightning was also accompanied by peerlessly sharp azure blades of wind that swept forth in all directions, instantly tearing a hole that was several hundred feet in size into the center of the screen of yellow sand. The centaur-like creature immediately passed through the hole in the screen of sand, then raced after the one-eyed giant in hot pursuit, traveling at such an incredible speed that it was able to cover a distance of several thousand feet in the blink of an eye. However, in the next instant, it abruptly stopped cold in its tracks. As it turned out, the one-eyed giant was nowhere to be seen. Right at this moment, a burst of radiant light suddenly erupted from a certain point behind the screen of sand, and the one-eyed giant re-emerged. Its aura had waned significantly, but there was a fierce look on its face. Instead of fleeing from the battle, it had concealed its aura and hidden itself within the screen of sand, waiting for the centaur-like beast to come after it. At this moment, the thing that was radiating the dazzling light was none other than the previously murky and gray eye on the giant's head. The centaur-like creature was immediately struck by a sense of foreboding, and it swiveled around before hurling the blue lightning halberd in its grasp directly toward the one-eyed giant. Almost at the exact same moment, the giant's eye flashed before releasing a thick beam of white light. In the instant that the lightning halberd came into contact with the beam of white light, it instantly vanished into thin air, then abruptly reappeared in front of the one-eyed giant before piercing into its chest right where its heart was situated. The halberd then exploded amid an eruption of countless arcs of lightning, blasting a massive hole into the giant's chest and causing it to topple backward like a crumbling mountain. The beam of white light struck the centaur-like creature almost at the exact same moment, and its body was instantly enveloped by a burst of peculiar fluctuations, which made its movements and its magic power circulation hundreds of times slower and more sluggish than normal. The centaur-like creature was greatly alarmed by this, and it desperately attempted to draw upon its magic power to dispel these strange fluctuations. But despite how feeble they appeared, these fluctuations proved to be extremely tenacious and refused to be dispelled, despite the centaur-like creature's vast reserves of magic power. Right at this moment, spatial fluctuations erupted behind it, and a giant golden ape leaped out of thin air with bright golden light radiating from its fists, which were hurtling directly toward two of the centaur-like creature's three heads. The centaur-like creature was greatly startled by this unexpected turn of events, and it reflexively recoiled to try and evade the attacks. At the same time, the gust of azure wind revolving around it suddenly departed from its body, then transformed into an extremely lifelike azure wind dragon, and the wind dragon sped directly toward the giant golden ape, as it manifested a single horn on its head. However, the giant golden ape made no effort to take evasive measures as the semi-transparent True Extreme membrane appeared over its body, and its fists continued to hurtle through the air. Due to the debilitating effects of the beam of white light, the centaur-like creature was far too slow to evade the attacks, and two loud, gruesome crunches rang out as its left and central heads were struck before instantly exploding, sending blood and intracranial fluids splattering in all directions. At this point, the azure wind dragon had also reached the giant golden ape, and the horn on its head began to glow with scintillating light while releasing countless azure runes. The semi-transparent film was torn apart by the sharp horn, and a long gash was instantly sliced into the giant golden ape's chest. The giant ape let loose a painful roar as it clasped one hand over the gash on its chest, while swatting its other palm toward the centaur-like creature's third head like lightning. A look of alarm and horror appeared in the eyes of the centaur-like creature's remaining head, and black light flashed in its eyes as countless black runes emerged before revolving around its body. In the next instant, the centaur-like creature abruptly vanished into thin air. As a result, the giant golden ape's attack fell upon nothing but empty air. However, it didn't falter in the slightest as it released its enormous spiritual sense, and at the same time, a layer of blue light appeared within its eyes as it quickly swept its gaze over the surrounding area. However, even with both his spiritual sense and his bright sight spirit eyes scouring the area at the same time, he was still unable to find any trace of the centaur-like creature, and it was as if it had truly vanished. Meanwhile, the azure wind dragon was still attacking the giant golden ape relentlessly, quickly inflicting many more gashes onto the giant ape's body with its peerlessly sharp horn. The giant golden ape flailed its arms wildly through the air to protect its vital regions, and blue light flashed within its eyes, while its glabella split open to reveal an inky black demonic eye amid a cloud of black chi. His bright sight spirit eyes and law destruction eye lit up in unison before releasing 3 beams of spiritual light, 2 blue and 1 black. The 3 beams of spiritual light fused as one in midair in a flash, forming a black and blue ball of light. The ball of light was around the size of a human fist, and it was glittering and translucent, presenting an intriguing sight to behold.